Hey, John Adams here. I wanted to give you a little bit of a personal short story from my life and my professional career on why, let's say, active network monitoring could be important to you, why it would be have been important to me to have at that time, and where perhaps we can avoid these types of pitfalls in the future. At a certain point in my career, I was working as a contractor for a company that contracted with the U.S. Armed Forces. And inside this contract, I was deployed to Afghanistan during the crisis to help facilitate VSAT terminals, so very small aperture terminals, so little direct TV style dishes with, let's say, a network package behind it. So we're talking a router, a switch, you're going to have a few phones, we're going to have encryption devices, so I can have my encrypted and unencrypted networks operating out in the field, so that we can also carry sensitive data across the wire and make sure that when generals are calling from specific forward operating bases, they can always make that phone call. That phone call could be quite important, especially if it's a missile defense site. So one thing about stress relative to the work and why it might be important to you, something for us in the military was imagine that anytime the network is down, someone is getting hurt. So we want to make sure the network does meet that 99.9 efficiency, and we run to make sure that is accomplished. So while I'm working as a contractor at this location, generally speaking, I would have to take certain calls across the cellular network. But again, this is military operations. I don't want to be speaking, let's say, even sensitive conversations about where these bases could be located. But the actual connection between my base and their base is down. We need to go work out the satellite communications, and I'm talking on the phone with soldiers at these locations, and quite often they're young engineers. So these young engineers, they're doing it the best they can, but they've only had so much experience, and they're thrown out in the field after about 6 months of trainings, and they're expected to be superheroes. Sometimes some funny things can happen, especially when people get around new equipment, new deployments, and they haven't seen certain things before. So, in one of my experiences, I was troubleshooting with a soldier over the phone for several days. We couldn't get anywhere, and a normal operation for me at that time was to say, okay, well, I have to get there and troubleshoot this and fix this, because the longer this phone is down, the longer someone could get hurt. So what I had to do was run over and grab a helicopter. I jumped on the helicopter and we fly over the desert for a certain period of time, and I jump down into this random location and I walk into the facility and I walk over to our network stack and I turned on the power. And the reality of the situation is because I couldn't get the actual information I needed from the engineer at location, perhaps he wasn't the best instrumentation for me to understand what was going on over there. Wouldn't it have been great if I would have had some piece of software, a little agent that was sitting over there allowing me to visibly see what's going on, why it's happening, and give me a better ability to troubleshoot it? I wouldn't have to take 3 days for them not to have the phones to pass sensitive data across public networks. And then I wouldn't have to have jumped on a helicopter and endanger my life in a crisis, or the passengers of the helicopter crew to even get there. It's all can be quite important. So just imagine sometime that there is a lot of stress around that IT team, and this is all quite interesting technology to me, to people who have been through my experiences, and to have these type of solutions out there, it'll make everything better for everyone, and security is what we all desire. So, thank you for your time.